Hey everyone, today I'm going to help add some clarity to the ending of Westworld Season 2, Episode 5. And before I begin, there will be a lot of spoilers ahead for the entire show. So with that said, here we go. In this episode, we focus on Dolores and Maeve, and we see some huge similarities in their journeys. Both Maeve and Dolores have great power over the hosts around them. So it's interesting when you compare these storylines, as one is wanting to take control of Westworld and the world outside, being a psychopathic, manipulative dictator, while the other understands the value of one host, aka her daughter, and is willing to risk her own life to save her. Both of them suffered so much. Maeve had her child repeatedly taken from her, and Dolores has been repeatedly taken advantage of, as she routinely watched the one person she loved die in front of her as she could do nothing about it. All of this helped lead them to become the more cognitive beings they are in Season 2. Maeve's mission is to find her daughter, and she doesn't stray away from this path. Dolores' mission is more revenge driven, as she wants to get back at the humans who controlled, tortured, and imprisoned the hosts, including herself. However, Dolores has become what she hates. Her reasoning for taking Westworld and killing the humans was to have freedom, to not be controlled and changed by them any longer. And Teddy even says they built us to perform for them and for each other, and that's over. This is something that Dolores has been preaching this entire time. Yet Dolores asked Teddy how he would remove the sickness from the cows with blue tongue disease. Teddy says he'd keep the cows isolated until they could recover, but Dolores says she had to burn the cows, as the smoke would make the flies carrying the disease stay away from the farm. With such conflicting ideologies between the two, Dolores doesn't just think Teddy is compassionate, she thinks he's weak, especially after she watches him let the Confederate soldiers go free at the end of Season 2, Episode 3, after she specifically gave Teddy the order to take them out back and kill them. Right after Teddy's line, "The days of being used to perform for the guests and each other are over," Dolores leads him to a back room into a trap where he is held against his will, as Dolores has Teddy's narrative and personality reset. We don't know the specifics of what exactly she did to him, but before the man next to her activates the reset, he claims that he can't guarantee that Teddy's mind will hold together. But she does it anyway and claims that to grow, we all need to suffer, preaching exactly what Ford was talking about in Season 1. Dolores is becoming what she is fighting against. Whatever reset she's going to do to Teddy is going to cause him to suffer, not giving him a choice in the matter. She is now the one bringing the suffering upon the host. She is like the humans now, but yet somehow worse, because she is doing it to people she is closest to. And I think Teddy will be severely messed up from this. And by the way, it's now confirmed that Teddy was the one floating dead in the water at the end of Season 2, Episode 1, so I was correct on that, as well as Grace being William's daughter, so I am just killing it this season. Anyway, the suffering Dolores puts him through will most likely backfire on her. It's interesting how the roles are being reversed from Season 1. Dolores is becoming the true villain of this show, as the Man in Black is redeeming himself. Now let's talk about Maeve. In this episode, we see Doppelbots in the Shogun world. Maeve and her daughter's storyline was duplicated. Maeve was Akane, and Maeve's daughter was Sakura. In the end of the episode, Sakura dies, after the Shogun stabs her through the chest, forcing Akane to then dance for him. And by the way, for all those theories out there that think Maeve purposefully let Akane's daughter die, you have to remember that the head of the Shogun was glitching out and leaking fluid, meaning she couldn't really influence him as he was very unstable. And plus, Maeve was having trouble even telling other hosts what to do this episode. And when he kills Akane's daughter, Maeve is genuinely horrified and disturbed, as she is so empathetical to the situation. Earlier in the episode, when there were surprise ninjas, Maeve is struggling to defend herself from a ninja, as she loses the ability to look at him and finish a sentence to make him stop. Her voice has no use in this moment, which pushes her to discover that she has the ability to control the hosts around her without even speaking a word, as she telepathically tells the ninja to impale his head into an object on the support beam. To get some more insight as to how exactly she's doing this, we have to look back at Season 1. There was a great scene where Ford was talking about himself and Arnold creating Westworld. Ford explains that the creation of the new worlds made them gods. When making this speech, the world around Ford stops. The surrounding hosts freeze right in the middle of any activity they were doing. He didn't say anything, and he didn't do any hand movements or gestures. In fact, the hosts far away in the fields froze in place as well. The only explanation for this is that Ford must have had some sort of telepathic control over the hosts, as he was utilizing the mesh network. In the second episode, episode of season 2, we learn that the park hosts all have a subconscious link to the hosts around them, and that they can pass basic information to one another like ants in a colony. They call it the mesh network, as its original purpose was to keep the narratives from colliding. We see now that the mesh network can be utilized for so much more than keeping the narratives from crossing paths. Ford is using it to communicate to William, as he has created a game for him. Originally, Maeve possessed the ability to vocally control the hosts around her, and when having to find the Japanese language within her code to communicate with the other hosts in the world, and losing the ability to speak, she found a way to activate the network. Just like Ford, she doesn't have to say a word to completely change the state of every single host around her. One of the most interesting moments to me was when she finally utilized this power to control a wide array of hosts at the same time. It said early on that sentience is created from suffering, and this suffering starts the host on a path to consciousness. At first, Akane rejects Maeve's offer to take Akane to a new world. The one attachment Akane had was her daughter, which compelled her to stay in the Shogun world, and made her stick to her narrative. However, the main Shogun killed her daughter, which will then have her start this journey on becoming much more like Maeve. And now Maeve has the ability to become a god just like Ford. She can now easily take control of the Shogun army charging at her in the end. And Maeve is now the most powerful host out there, utilizing her ability not to take control of Westworld like Dolores, but to seek her individual freedom and the freedom of her daughter. And those were my thoughts on season 2, episode 5. If you guys liked this video and learned something today and love everything sci-fi, please subscribe to see more videos just like this one, as I will be doing an ending explained video for Westworld every week shortly after the premiere. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next Westworld video.